Okay, welcome to the second video in our series of new videos looking at aspects of the economics of migration. In the first video, we looked at the increase in net migration into the UK, which essentially kicked off, really accelerated in the early part of the last decade, particularly after the arrival of lots of new countries into the European Union, where of course there is free movement. And there was a significant increase shown by the grey histogram here in net migration of people, the balance between immigration in blue and emigration, people leaving, in orange. Now, immigration has fallen in the last few years in net terms, but our focus actually is thinking a little bit about some of the factors that might help explain the rise in net immigration into the UK in the years before, in particular, the 2016 Brexit referendum. Economists often talk about push and pull factors. Pull factors are factors which encourage people into a country. Meaningful factors which pull people in to the labour market. Push factors are factors which push people away from a country, perhaps forcing them eventually to leave. And there's a lot of economics here, a lot of economic geography. You may well want to think about the many other factors not listed here. But let me pick out 6. I think most of these are pull factors, one of which is the job opportunities. The employment rate is higher, typically in richer nations where per capita incomes, even adjusted for purchasing power, are higher. And if we think about the UK, jobs in, for example, construction, in health and social care, in farming, in cleaning and catering, and particularly in hospitality and tourism, from hotels to coffee shops. Lots of job opportunities offering higher monthly wages, if you like, compared to lots of emerging countries in the European Union. Migrants may be attracted in a pull sense by good access to key public services, state education, housing, social housing and healthcare. And there's often something called the hysteresis effect, which is where the long-term path of migration is influenced by the success or otherwise of previous generations who have come in. New migrants tend to go where others from their community have successfully moved. And a good example might be the Bangladeshi community in London, or perhaps the surge in the number of people from Poland who came to the UK to live and work post-2004, and other countries including Bulgaria and Romania and the Czech Republic. Migrants may well be attracted by higher minimum wages in some countries. Not every European country, for example, has a minimum wage, but most do. They may be attracted by access perhaps to relatively generous state welfare benefits available to those people who are living and working in a particular country. And I don't think we should underplay the possible impact of technology and globalization. So the cost of transport has come down in many cases. The rapid expansion of low-cost airlines across the European Union, in other countries as well, other regions of the world, low-cost coach travel, and also increasingly, of course, the ability to click and communicate across borders, FaceTime and Skyping and Teams and Zoom, the ability to keep in touch, if you like, distant socializing with people, even if you're living and working in another country. Push factors, well, people are often pushed out of a country by civil conflict, by political instability, by threats to their democratic rights and liberties, relatively poor working conditions and relatively low wages in the country of origin rather than the country of destination. Now, there are many economic, social, political factors influencing migration. What I've tried to do in this slide is just pick out some that I think are particularly salient. One way of looking at this, and there's a lot of data in the table, so don't worry too much about it, is to look at the monthly average wage across European countries. Now, we've converted this to dollars and we've made an adjustment for purchasing power parity. The idea being that $100 in Poland should buy an equivalent basket of goods and services to $100, for example, in Greece or Scotland. And what we find is, I've just taken out 5 countries from this massive data. We find that there are quite significant differences in monthly average wage. In Bulgaria, which came into the EU in 2007, the monthly average wage is just over $1,500 PPP. That's actually higher than Greece, which is a sign of the impact of the Greek depression on relative living standards. Poland has much higher per capita wages than Greece at the moment, over just over $2,000 per month. But there's still a big gap, as you can see, between the average wages in Poland and contrasted with Germany, over 3,100, and the UK 2,900. I think this is good evidence to use in an exam question. Significant differences in monthly average wages and employment opportunities can be big pull factors. Not every country in the European Union has a minimum wage. This data in this chart is from January 2020, and in fact 6 EU countries, UK is now left, don't have a minimum wage, or didn't have at the start of the year, including Denmark and Italy, Austria, Finland and Sweden, fairly high income countries. If I just put in a little line there, that's €1,000 per month adjusted for purchasing power parity. So, in countries like Latvia, Bulgaria, Estonia, Slovakia, the minimum wage is actually pretty low by European standards. Is that a factor causing outward migration from those countries to other nations, including the UK? Poland actually has a minimum wage just above €1,000 per month, and obviously countries such as Germany, Netherlands have much higher minimum wages, and the UK there now separate with a minimum wage in certainly the top half dozen or so. On the right hand side you've got countries such as Albania, Montenegro, Serbia that are candidate or applicant countries to the EU. They may well join at some point, although in Turkey's case that's going to be some years away, I would think. And the United States is on the right hand side if you're looking for a point of comparison. Well, differences in minimum wages can be a factor causing migration changes. Not the only factor, as we've discussed in this short video.